The regular season is ending, and as we trek through the latter half of the year, we're in the midst of a historic event happening this season. That is the possibility of the Kansas City Chiefs being the first team in NFL history to three-peat as Super Bowl champions. They're off to a strong start so far with a 12-1 record currently. However, there are 4 teams that are looking like Super Bowl favorites, and the consensus seems to be that any one of these teams can take the Lombardi come February. We hear plenty of national media coverage, but a local radio producer has decided to chime in with his thoughts and predictions for the upcoming postseason.
My name is Andres Chavez. I'm the producer at ESPN Radio 101.7 The Team in Albuquerque and Rio Rancho. As a producer, I gather all the information that goes on our daily shows. We do a show called Team Talk every day from 4 p.m. till 6 or 7, depending on the day.
More now, Team Talk on 101.7 The Team.
And thank you so much for tuning in.
And so that just includes gathering stories that are going around, whether nationally or locally. And so we just kind of are always keeping a close eye out on the NFL, especially now that we're getting closer and closer to the playoffs. We're definitely going to spend a lot more time moving forward on the NFL and on postseason play.
With a job that covers all kinds of sports, I asked Chavez how familiar he was with the NFL specifically.
I always spend my Sundays watching all the NFL games. I'm always keeping an eye on all of them just because there's either going to be really good stories in terms of upsets, or I just enjoy watching other teams.
When I asked about the Chiefs' prospects of three-peating, Chavez said,
I just don't think they will, just because of all the teams in the NFC that are really showing a lot of promise. Like, I really like the Detroit Lions a lot.
The Detroit Lions offense has looked unstoppable throughout the season, and they are the current betting favorites to win the Super Bowl. They are led by Jared Goff, who's playing at a near MVP level, surrounded by an elite cast of skill position players, including the best slot receiver in the league, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
They are. Goff looking for him, throwing for him. It is caught, and he's in. Touchdown.
What they do as an offensive powerhouse to get Jared Goff to be able to throw 300 yards a game, but also get him to only have to throw 150 if you got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery averaging 100-plus yards a game together.
Into the end zone, walking in, David Montgomery for the touchdown.
They also arguably have the best offensive line in football, being ranked number 1 by PFF.
And then number 1, Detroit. Yeah, I mean, this was my Super Bowl pick. They are the best team in football. I think they've outscored opponents by like 100 points the last 2 weeks. Like, they are just decimating teams. The fact that this offense is really historic as it is, you don't need a great defense. And they play so physical and tough, and they attack the football so well that they're going to make some plays. They're going to get some stops.
Despite being riddled with injuries and losing their best defensive player, Aidan Hutchinson, their defense has performed as a top 10 unit all season. They are number 1 in terms of defensive pass EPA per play, number 7 in terms of defensive run EPA per play, and have allowed the second fewest opponents' points per game. Their head coach, Dan Campbell, is a fan favorite.
By the way, I got to say this.
Yeah.
Everybody sees this Dan Campbell as, he's a Neanderthal, whatever. He's not very smart. Just the opposite. Well, he is a Neanderthal, but he's the smartest thing. He might be the smartest coach in the league.
But even with the historic run the Lions have been on, especially on offense.
What do good teams do to bad teams? The answer is not win. The answer is beat the freaking brakes off them. And we saw the Lions do that.
That doesn't mean they're the only team that people are picking to represent the NFC. The Eagles have also had a dominant season so far after what could only be described as a horrific collapse last year. Starting the season 10-1, only to finish 11-6 and lose in the first round of the playoffs. That set the stage for the turnaround this year. Hiring Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore as defensive and offensive coordinators, as well as selecting 2 phenom rookie corners in the draft, has completely changed the trajectory for this team.
because the difference these two young DBs have made, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, cannot possibly be understated.
Nope.
Like they have transformed this defense.
But the acquisitions of these rookie corners, man, like we knew it at the time that the league made a mistake letting the Eagles get Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, but it is a little different seeing it in full force.
Their success can in part be attributed to the shift on defense, going from the worst secondary in the league to a top 5 unit. Then on offense, they have the number 2 ranked offensive line behind only Detroit, and arguably the best cast of skill position players in the NFL.
And offensively, like, they just can do whatever they want with you.
With Saquon Barkley on pace to break the rushing yards record.
I mean, Saquon, that addition has been so fun.
Locates Barkley out of the backfield. Barkley slips 2 tackles and picks up
A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith being 2 of the 10 to 15 best wide receivers in the league.
3rd and 4, Hutchinson time and throws complete.
And I think the message is clear that they sent to the entire National Football League. We are the bullies now.
This has been described as a super team, and it's not hard to see why. Then we take a look at the AFC, and the team that might keep Kansas City out of the big game entirely. The Bills have looked incredible offensively, with a complete change in philosophy going into this season. The team let go of star wide receiver Stephon Diggs and deep threat Gabe Davis, adopted a similar strategy to Kansas City in beating teams by inching away at them.
Pretty good. I know their O-line's pretty good. They've got enough weapons. I think this is the best set of weapons that Josh has ever had. When you're talking about Amari Cooper on the outside, when you're talking about Khalil Shakir in the slot, Dalton Kincaid at tight end. He's got more depth.
Big time blitz. Allen throws, has his target. Samuel takes it home for the touchdown.
Despite the loss of plenty of names in the offseason on defense, the Bills have still also held up their end on that side of the ball, sitting top 10 in nearly every major defensive statistic category. All of this with the team being led by Josh Allen, who's playing football better than anybody else on the planet right now and is currently the front runner for MVP.
So the Bills said, we don't need Stephon Diggs. We don't need Gabe Davis, vertical wide receiver. Give us 5 slot guys. Josh Allen is going to learn an offense that gets rid of the ball quickly, nickels and dimes you, and then we're going to have a great run game because we're getting light boxes. We have a quarterback that changes the numbers in the run game, and good luck.
Not only that, but when we talk about who can beat the Chiefs come February, as it stands right now, the Bills are the only team who have actually beaten the Chiefs this season. But while the Chiefs have lost to the Bills this season, this isn't the first time that the Chiefs have lost to the Bills in the regular season and then came back to beat them in the postseason.
First, ball all the way back outside the 30-yard line. Looking to the end zone for the win! He caught it! Ball game!
But now it's finally time to look at the top of the mountain.
Well, we kind of have a motto here. Until you dethrone the Kings, they're still going to be considered the Kings. I don't think there's anyone really in the AFC that really has more of that fire, more of that ability to go into the Super Bowl aside from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Despite how well all of these other teams are playing, it's hard not to believe, especially with a 12-1 record as it stands, that the Chiefs aren't still the team to beat once it comes down to postseason play. What has made this season so intriguing and terrifying for the other 31 teams in the NFL is that the Chiefs have looked horrible.
Sorry, for the Chiefs. They are still the Chiefs, but they're just not as potent. And we saw that against Buffalo. We've seen that all year. They're desperately searching for somebody to create explosives here. Mahomes has missed throws deep as well. It's not just the receivers. And their tackles have a hard time buying time to push the ball deep.
They look sloppy every game. They seem slow and stagnant on offense, and they haven't been as dominant in the second half of the season on defense as they were in the first half.
I will say, when it comes to Kansas City, boy, I got to be careful how I word this. I'm not out, but there's some problems, man.
But with all those struggles, they seem to find a way to win every week. This is where sometimes the stats and the expected win percentages can lie to you when it comes to football. Because while on paper, the three previously mentioned teams should beat the Chiefs. I mean, all three of them have better odds to win the Super Bowl than the Chiefs. But we've also seen what happens when it's crunch time in January and Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid have the ball at the end of the game. Historically, it means that if your team is in Kansas City, you're going home.
I feel the number of people out there being like, what's going on? First and goal. Mahomes flings it. It's there! Hardman!
The Chiefs have shown an innate ability this season to win close games no matter what the circumstance. And if they can maintain that in January...
So until I see someone actually beat them in the playoffs, I can't rule out the Chiefs.
It's the KC core versus the world. And that core is pretty darn good. They've won back-to-back Super Bowls because of that core.
This team can still absolutely win the Super Bowl, right? They're incredible defensively, and you still got Mahomes. Mahomes will make plays.
Well, to bring it back to the original question, will the Chiefs be the first team in NFL history to ever three-peat? Unfortunately, probably.